me to introduce the beautiful lady. Well, she is known as Dr. V. She is a medical doctor and authored practicing functional medicines. Apart from that, she is nutritionist of the year, recipient of Vogues. And apart from that, she has also been considered and nominated, believe me, she is the wellness influencer of India. So yes, here we have the celebrity nutritionist and the doctor here with us. Please put your hands together for the lady, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sachdeva, for inviting me here today. And we know how much hard work has gone into this. So thank you for your effort. Thank you, Arjun. We know your passion for health, and that's why we're all here, and that's the only reason you have done this. I don't know about a celebrity doctor, but yes, I do practice disease reversal and longevity, and that's my area of expertise, and that's what I'm going to tell you today, how you can actually use food to not only prevent getting disease, but reverse disease and lengthen your lifespan. Modern medicine is making such great strides in telling us how to extend our lifespan, but what is it telling us in ways in which we can actually improve our health span? The idea is not to live a decade or two attached to the bed or the bedpan or dependent on diapers, but to live the extra year or decade being truly healthy and active and a vibrant life. That's what we all aim for. Nobody wants to be sick and dependent, like Arjun said yesterday, on their children. So I'm going to show you a roadmap that will tell you your trajectory to achieve both of these. Why am I, as an allopathic doctor, talking to you about food for longevity and not medicines for longevity? This is why. Food is medicine. It's the fastest acting medicine, and it is the most powerful medicine. And I want you to think of it as such. This is what food can do. It can activate your stem cells, it can change your gut microbiome, it can change your brain chemistry, it can even repair your DNA. There is nothing that food cannot do. I'd like that to just sink in. You know, I always tell my patients how you have a toolbox at home where you have a screwdriver and a hammer, and if something is wrong, you will reach out to that to repair something. Think of food as the first thing that you will pick up in your metabolic toolbox before you reach out to your medicine. How many of us here are truly metabolically healthy? I have shared a little folder. Has everyone got this? Now, if you are 3 or 5 of these, you have marked as positive. That means you are metabolically what we call dysfunctional. This also means your chance of having obesity, heart disease, diabetes significantly increase. I'm here to tell you not to worry, because we're going to use food to help you navigate that. So if you have this already, I'm going to teach you how to reverse it. And if you are metabolically healthy, then that's fantastic, but I'm going to tell you how to not get there. Now, there is a caveat, of course. Everything in nutrition, like medicine, is personalized. Your gut microbiome is different from mine. Your gene pool is different from mine. Everything, right? So we have your health status, which means your blood parameters look different from mine. But that being said, there are certain universal principles using food, and that's what we're going to talk about, and I'm going to give you an actionable plan for that. Now, there are 2 components of diet that seem to impact how we age. One is when we eat, and the other one is what we eat. Let's talk about when we eat. Fasting. Everybody talks about fasting nowadays, right? Now, since childhood, we've been told that we need to eat every 2 or 3 hours, and we need, food for energy. We need food to be active and healthy. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I remember not being able to go to school if, I wasn't allowed if I didn't have breakfast. Enter intermittent fasting. Turns this theory upside down. Well, fasting of any sort, intermittent or otherwise, has been happening across centuries, across continents, really. Whether it's Lenten Christianity, it's the holy month of Ramadan, it's Padushan in Jainism, Judaism. You pick the religion, and we've been fasting historically. Intermittent fasting truly is like old wine in a new bottle. So it's just a different terminology. The fact is, any sort of fasting that you do, I can tell you after putting thousands of patients on different sorts of fasting, it hugely helps the metabolic health, which means the parameters that you have in front of you. This is how it does so. It stimulates autophagy. Everybody knows autophagy today. It was spoken about yesterday. Think about it like a broom where your old dead cells are getting removed. Also, because you're eating less, you're getting less insulin spikes. Remember, if you want to be metabolically healthy, you need to make sure that your blood sugar and insulin spike the least. If that happens, you're on the way to being metabolically healthy, and you will not get the heart disease, you won't be obese, you won't get that, beer belly, and you will be healthy, and you will live a better, longer life. So that's what it helps you do. It also changes your gut microbiome, which is hugely important even from an immunity standpoint. It will reduce the chances of all these, like I've said, and it helps with fat loss, not muscle loss, but fat loss, and that's important. So what sort of fasting should you do? Honestly, if you did the 12-12, if you did, the 16-8, which is eating 16 hours, not eating 8 hours, if you did the OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, if you didn't eat for 24 hours, it doesn't matter. Start somewhere. I can tell you, start slow. Don't be overzealous. If you're someone who eats every 2 or 3 hours, please don't go to, suddenly not eating for 24 hours, because then you are going to get migraines, you are going to get that sugar crash and all of that, and then you're going to come back and complain to your doctor saying, but this has not worked for me. So everything is personalized, so begin slow. I can tell you, done correctly, under guidance, you will definitely do well. And it will change your metabolic parameters. It also turns out that it's not the hours that you eat, but the hours that you don't eat, which is your fasting window, that actually helps stimulate your longevity genes. And that's the beauty of fasting, of any sort. So increase the window where you don't eat. Let's talk about what we eat. Let's talk macros. Let's talk protein, carbs, and fats. How much is adequate protein? Now this is, like I said, right, just to begin with, it's personalized. But if I talk about it from a longevity standpoint, I can tell you this. With every decade, we lose muscle mass and we get what's called sarcopenia and we get weak. When that happens, the chances of imbalance, of falls, of fractures increase hugely. And we all have parents, grandparents, we've seen them have fractures. We know it's established in medical science now, in literature, that people with fractures over a certain age reduce their lifespan significantly. So you want to prevent that, and you want to enter middle age having a good muscle mass. That's literally the currency of your life, your long life. Now, this slide, can protein actually shorten your lifespan? After telling you the importance of protein, I'm going to talk to you about this. Has anyone in this room heard of mTOR? Yeah, of course. Okay, barring the doctors, I meant. Okay, now from a longevity standpoint, we've got something called mTOR. This is very interesting. mTOR is a protein signaling molecule. You need this mTOR to be absolutely elevated when you're in the first half of your life, when you're in the growth phase, or if you're a young person trying to build that six-pack in the gym, or if you're a pregnant woman because you're growing two of you. But in the second half of your life, what we call the post-reproductive part, which is probably most of us in this room, you do not want your mTOR constantly elevated. You want your mTOR to be a little low. Why? Because constantly elevated mTOR can actually proliferate cells and can cause cancers. It can also reduce your lifespan. So while you're really enthusiastic about the protein, now typically in my clinic, I find people who come to me are either the ones who are so deficient and who literally come like this because they're sarcopenic already, or they're the overzealous ones who want to have 2 and 3 protein shakes a day and want to build that muscle. It seems to be like an all or none phenomena. So whatever you do, measure your protein based on your needs. It has to be how much you work out. It happens to have, it depends on your age, like I've explained. It depends on your current medication, current health status. If you're diabetic with someone who doesn't have, great kidneys, you can't be taking lots of protein. It also depends on your gut health, especially if anyone in this room has constant acid reflux. don't overburden your gut with protein, because you are going to worsen your acid reflux and it's going to cause a lot of bloat. The constant conundrum, veg, non-veg protein. Now, I'm just going to touch upon this and talk about the pros and cons and leave it to you which one you need to have. Non-veg proteins is a complete protein. So we have 20 amino acids, of which 6 we need to get from an external source. That's what we call a complete protein. Your non-vegetarian proteins are a complete source. So that's what we call a bioavailable protein. Your body can completely utilize that. It's also a rich source of vitamin B12 and the usable form of iron. Remember, it's not what you eat, it's actually what you can assimilate. And when I say it's what you can assimilate, it means what your gut microbiome can assimilate. So this is great from that point of view. The cons are, it's actually got an amino acid which can stimulate mTOR. So it doesn't mean you have to be vegetarian. It means don't be on a keto diet or a carnivore diet where you're eating only non-vegetarian protein. It's a good idea to balance both, because also meats can be completely ultra-processed. All ultra-processed meats increase omega-6 and 9, which is pro-inflammatory, so can cause heart disease and can worsen all the other metabolic parameters that I have given you in that sheet. Also very high in sodium. Coming to the pros. It's much easier to get vegetarian proteins which are organic. So it's much easier to source those rather than to source an organic meat family. They also come from, they have less saturated fat. These are incomplete proteins. Does that mean if you're vegetarian, you will be deficient in protein? Absolutely not. It just means you need to combine them correctly. For instance, if you combine rice with dal, that means a cereal, with lentil, it's a marriage of a complete protein. So you actually eat it, in a way, you just have to find a way where you're combining the vegetarian proteins correctly, and you will not be deficient in protein. Coming to the next food group, fats. I'm going to start with the myth buster. Everyone thinks fats is the enemy, barring my esteemed speaker, right before me, who I'm sure doesn't disapprove of this. But everybody else thinks that fat is what's going to cause heart disease. Fat is bad for you. You go to your cardiologist and he says, stop the fat, stop eating butter, stop eating oil, stop everything, it's going to kill you. This cannot be further from the truth. Yes, if you're eating pro-inflammatory, rancid fats, if you're using fats that have been, you're refrying things, then yes, you have every reason to be worried, because that is going to kill you. But if you're going to eat anti-inflammatory fats, you're going to eat the omega-3 fats, just make them your friends. Whether you're trying to drop weight, make it your friend. Whether you're trying to balance your hormones, and certainly if you want to live life, fats is probably the way to go. Also, if you want to prevent yourself from getting dementias as you age, your brain is predominantly in fat, so make fats your friend. It's essential for immune health. Your vitamin A, D, E, and K are fat soluble. So if you're on a low-fat diet, how many people are on a low-fat diet? We're trying to drop weight, we're using low-fat milk. No, but the snack that we eat in the evening is a low-fat biscuit. If you eat low-fat anything, throw it in the trash can. It's most certainly killing you, and killing you fast. So you make sure that you're at least absorbing your vitamins well, if you're going to have good fats. Nothing satiates you of all the 3 food groups, whether it's protein, carbs, and fat. Nothing keeps you more full than fats do. Nothing balances your hormones like fats do. So if you're diabetic, you also need fats. So this is why you need fats, and you need it to be your friend. Can fats help you live longer? When you go to a cardiologist and you go with a high lipid profile, you look at a cholesterol profile and he'll tell you, your LDL is really elevated, your triglycerides is really elevated, you need to stop your fats, like I just said. The same doctor will also prescribe you an omega-3. What is omega-3? It's also a fat. So let's learn to differentiate, because if you want to live long, you need to include the fats, because that will actually bring down your triglyceride. Your triglyceride is the most important marker of cardiovascular disease. So if you want to stay away from that, you eat your fat. And like I said, if you want to be metabolically healthy, you need to have them too. So these are some of the fats if you want to just look at the fat groups. But more importantly, if you want to, these are the fats you should include. These are the anti-inflammatory ones. You can use extra virgin oil for dressings, so we don't really heat them. We use olive oil for cooking. Please don't fear ghee and coconut oil. They're saturated, but they're great fats for you. And of course, you can use some amount of mustard oil and avocado oil. These fats are the ones you need to be scared of. The seed oils like sunflower, safflower, rice bran, canola, those are the ones we've been constantly using. And like I said, the trans fat, rancid fats, and if you know, the quickest way to get cancer is to keep refrying that oil. The last food group, carbs. This is something everyone's scared of also who's trying to drop weight. But it's important to differentiate between your simple and the complex ones. This is a slide. We don't have a pointer here, right? So when you're looking at spikes and troughs, this is what you need. So if this is your basic blood sugar level, you want to prevent these from happening so you are what we call metabolically healthy and you don't get the diseases and you don't tick as many boxes as I've given you in the questionnaire. So you need to make sure that you get as many baseline sugar readings and not spikes and troughs. And this happens when you have simple sugars. Everything that's processed, that comes out of a tin can bottle, even the liquid sugars which are unprocessed. So if you're going to be having honey, maple syrup, agave, lots of people come and say, oh, but my grandfather had honey and, you know, they lived like 100. Please, if you're metabolically unhealthy, stay away from those, which means even your unprocessed simple sugars do not get a free pass. Yes, if you're healthy and you don't have, and you haven't checked the boxes that I've given you, can you have some amount of honey or maple syrup or agave or fruit juice? Fruit juices, no one should have fruit juices. But then yes, you can have some. Else you need to completely stay away from these because these will certainly kill you and fast. Complex carbs, which is the whole fruit or vegetable or some amount of whole grain, is fine. Why? Because that comes with fiber. Fiber not only keeps you full, balances your sugar, but fiber has what we call, it's full of probiotics. It's great for your gut bacteria. 70% of our immune cells, of our immunity, is in our gut. So if you want to be strong, you want to make as much good bacteria in your gut, for which you need to make fiber your friend. And I don't understand people who are constantly taking fiber supplements. You may as well just eat the whole natural fruit or the vegetable instead. Okay, all carbohydrates turn to sugar in the body. So you don't need to have sugar to have high levels of sugar. You can eat a Monaco biscuit, or you can have a savory snack. It's still sugar in the body. This is how much sugar that's actually present in foods. Now, you could be having a serving of pasta. That's 5 spoons of sugar. It doesn't taste sweet. One roti has 4.5 spoons of sugar. So that's the amount of sugar you're actually consuming a day. Now, we all know sugar is detrimental. But I'm still going to touch upon this because no matter how much anybody tells you not to eat sugar, the fact is, me included, we're all going to eat some amount of sugar. So I can stand here and preach, but even I'll want to eat some amount. So I'm going to tell you to eat it in a way where it's least detrimental for your health. But let's not underestimate how detrimental sugar is. Okay, first of all, why do we crave sugar? How many people here, are people who love something sweet or who say we are carboholics or we're watching Netflix and we're demolishing a bar of chocolate? I will tell a patient, you can have ape square of dark chocolate. But they say, we were watching TV in the middle of the night and we went through the whole bar. I have yet to have one patient who tells me, you asked me to have 1 plate of broccoli and I had 2 plates of broccoli. Why? I mean, why is it that we are only craving sugar and not the savory stuff? Because sugar also releases serotonin. Serotonin is your feel-good hormone. It's your hormone that calms you, helps you sleep, keeps you happy. But what happens after that effect has gone? Because it gives you that the sugar graph that I showed you. It also drops soon. We always want to be in that state, so once that state is done with, you're craving more sugar. It also lights up the same dopamine receptors in the brain that cocaine does. That's how addictive it is. I'll so often have a parent come to the clinic and tell their child, keep quiet at the doctor's clinic and I'll give you chocolate later. You don't tell your child, keep quiet later, at the clinic I'm going to give you cocaine later, but you will, feed your child chocolate, and that's how a habit starts. So don't do it at any generation. In fact, habits are formed at a much younger age. So this is why. And also it gives you zero satiety. So your stomach is full. You've had 1 or 2 bars of that caramel, popcorn or chocolate, but your brain is still hungry. You have no satiety value with sugar. So you need to be really, really careful of this food group. All of it, all sugar is converted. So this is probably the most important thing that you need to know. Anything that you eat is converted sugar. The extra sugar that your body cannot utilize goes and sits as what we call visceral fat. That is the fat around your abdomen. That is the most dangerous fat. That is the fat that causes fatty liver. It goes to your heart, increases your bad cholesterol, increases VLDL, increases triglycerides, can give you atherosclerosis and heart disease. It can go to your eyes, give you cataract, go to your brain, give you dementias. There is nothing that sugar, you name the part of the body and I will tell you a detrimental effect that sugar causes. So this is the guideline. American Heart Association says 9 teaspoons for men, 6 teaspoons for women. Now, you might say, but I don't consume 9 teaspoons of sugar a day. But if you do the calculation, you probably consume much more. I don't know how much you've consumed at breakfast already, but you can calculate. Okay. Does this also mean that fruit is bad for us? Well, fruit comes with antioxidants, comes with minerals, comes with fiber, and I've already explained to you the benefits of fiber. The problem is, a lot of people think it's okay to have a platter of fruit in the morning, first thing in the morning, or it's okay to have fruit juice. Whether you do fruit juice, whether you're using the cold press machine, you're using a NutriBullet, oh, but the fiber is intact, absolutely incorrect. Once you break the cellulose layer, you're releasing just fructose, which means fatty liver and heart disease, not to mention obesity. So you eat the whole fruit, but don't eat it first thing in the morning, and you keep your fruit limited to 1, at best 2 a day. This is what happens with different food groups, just to give you an idea on how the spikes happen. How do you minimize the spikes, and how do you eat sugar then? You sequence the food correctly. And this is most important, which means you begin your meal, say, with a salad, or you begin the meal with a bowl of, it could be vegetable, your regular sabji. So you begin your food in a way where you line your intestine, you line your gut, so that the spikes of sugar are minimum. When that, so once you have lined it, then if you eat your carb protein dessert, it minimizes the ill effects significantly. I'm just going to touch upon a few other things that we eat on a daily basis. Wheat. Wheat has these 2 proteins, gliadin and gluten. Both of these are terrible for people who have autoimmunity. So if you have got Crohn's, if you have got type 2 diabetes, if you've got psoriasis, scleroderma, rheumatoid arthritis, leaky gut syndrome, you need to stay off wheat. It's hugely inflammatory. I am not of the belief, though everybody has to stay off wheat and completely be off wheat. You can use, everybody here knows what a continuous glucose monitor is that you apply. Most people do. So if you do use, like I used a continuous glucose monitor because you need to understand your biology. Like I said, no 2 people are the same. So when you use that, like I have found for myself, I don't get a spike of sugars. So I can afford to eat, I'm not a fan of wheat at all, just let me put that out there. But I can afford to eat some amount of wheat. But you need to check for yourself. And if you have any of these conditions, especially if you've got a gut problem, asthma, etc., stay off the wheat for sure. And also, not everything gluten-free is healthy. I mean, Coca-Cola is gluten-free. So, dairy. Everyone thinks they need dairy because it's great for protein, great for osteoporosis, great for bone health, all of that. The fact is, the way dairy is grown today, it's full of A1 casein, it's pro-inflammatory, it's got hormones, it's got antibiotics, so you need to stay away from it because it will cause all the diseases that we've spoken about. If you must eat dairy, go for A2 milk, or go for sheep milk, or sheep cheese, goat cheese, which has got A2 casein, which is much less pro-inflammatory. Just note I've used the word much less pro-inflammatory, I haven't said anti-inflammatory. Meat and eggs, and fish for that matter. The same as we said for vegetarian protein, non-vegetarian, or, it's basically anti-inflammatory versus pro-inflammatory, and you need to look at the omega-3. You need to see what kind of fat is there, where it's procured from, does it have antibiotics? The meat most oftenly has been given prophylactic antibiotics because that helps build muscle. So you need to be very careful where you're sourcing it from. And when you're having fish, don't have shallow water fish like basa. Choose fish which is small cold water fatty fish. So you're using tuna and mackerel, anchovies, those kind of fish, which was actually great for heart, brain, and bone health. And this is exactly why. So you can see farmed fish versus your wild catch. Sweeteners. Everyone trying to drop weight? How many people here in this room use sweeteners of any sort? One person, two? Okay, healthy room. Everybody trying to drop weight, I know, or who's diabetic, tries to use sweeteners. Whether it is stevia, Splenda, erythritol, aspartame, I'm hoping not, all sorts. The fact is that most sweeteners can cause dysbiosis, which means they can increase the bad gut microbiome, can cause that. And it can also, ironically, increase the insulin, making you more hungry, so you eat more food. So people who are trying to drop weight and are having sweeteners can actually land up gaining weight. So what can you do? You can use these sweeteners, monk fruit, erythritol, stevia, only till you're trying to change your palate such that you get used to having no sugars. That would be ideal. Superfoods. Every journalist in the country who's interviewed me knows I don't like to be asked because I don't believe in superfoods. Why is the slide here then? The slide is here to tell you that if you do everything correctly that I have spoken about until here, then if you include these superfoods, then it's going to offer you a great benefit. But if you're someone who's going to begin your day with fruit juice and you're going to have like all the trash omega-6 fats and you're going to have chips and processed cereal in the morning for breakfast, and then you're going to come and tell me, but you said black coffee is a superfood and you said mushroom is great for brain health. Just please, it's going to do jack for you then. Okay, why choose organic? I'll just take a minute more, my last slide. Why? When something is growing in the wild, it doesn't have any pesticide, and it's trying to fight against nature in order to grow. So when you see that cabbage or cauliflower, which looks dirty and disheveled, as against that beautiful waxed apple that comes from New Zealand, pick the former, because when it's trying to survive, it's actually increasing the phytochemicals in it, which means we are getting more phytochemicals, more minerals, more vitamins. So pick those. Those are actually great for you. How can this anti-inflammatory diet then help you live longer? Like I said in the beginning, there is nothing that food cannot do. And this is exactly how it can help. It can help keep your hormones balanced, your gut microbiome balanced, it can improve your brain chemistry, and it can slow down aging, which is what we all want, and we want to be metabolically healthy. So that's what you do. Stay well. Thank you for a patient listening.